to you for yet another time. I'm Stephen Cummings. This is the Citizens Community Forum, and I was indicating just a short while ago that this is the time when we discuss the various issues that affect us all here in Trinidad and Tobago. Of course, the issues are never, they are unending. As a matter of fact, unending issues. There are so many societal issues that we focus on here in Trinidad and Tobago on the Citizens Community Forum. And as per usual, our objective is always to have an engaging and interactive as well as a civil discourse, and in so doing help develop a culture of peace and understanding through constructive dialogue and, yes, citizens participation. As per usual, our guests are persons who express views and opinions of their own, and sometimes opinions and perspectives that may not necessarily be that of the FBN network, the Citizens Community Forum, or that of the host. And our topics are also wide-ranging. Discussions at times may be emotionally charged, but surely we can always find common ground, and irrespective of our differing views. Now, the month of April is usually regarded as a tax month. In Trinidad and Tobago, individuals and businesses are required by law to pay various forms of tax. While individuals pay income tax and health surcharge on their income, their taxes also come in the form of business VAT, value-added corporation business levy, green fund levy, and other miscellaneous taxes. Now, while this is the law, while the paying of tax, it's a legal requirement. One also wonders, and there is that lingering misconception at times as to, an understanding of what really, or why do we pay taxes, or what is this tax system all about? And I know that the taxman is not an individual that in some instances are welcomed in some quarters. But we will get a little more into that in a short while. At this time on the Citizens Community Forum, we are going to be talking about understanding your taxes and what you need to know, and to help us discuss this very, very important issue, especially at this time of the year, and we're talking about April being tax month. I have with me on the Citizens Community Forum Ms. Sonia Scarce. She's the founder, managing director, and head consultant at Sonia Scarce and Company Limited, where she works with clients to ensure they meet their statutory financial obligations. And she's also an accountant with over 2 decades of experience. Ms. Scarce is also a fellow Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, and as well as a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Trinidad and Tobago. Ms. Sonia Scarce, welcome to the Citizens Community Forum.
Thank you so much.
I know that this is not the first time, and we have had some discussion in another place at another time, and
Yes.
this obviously is another opportunity for us to sit and talk with you this time about this issue of taxation. We're going to get into to that in more detail in a short while, but I wanted to sort of chat with you a bit as we start. We're talking about, our topic, understanding your taxes, what you need to know, and we want to sort of get into some of the basics, and we can work our way up to maybe the little more sort of a complex areas that I suppose a lot of people, would like to get a greater understanding of. But, when it comes to individuals, Sonia, what are the procedures for, let's say, individuals paying taxes, whether they are self-employed or employed by someone else?
Okay, so if you are employed with, again, thank you for having me. If you're employed with someone, so if you become an employee, you pay PAYE, pay as you earn taxes. And that you only pay that tax when your income goes over $84,000 per year. In other words, you're working for $7,000 a month. If your salary goes over that, that is when you pay PAYE. But you'll pay the regular health surcharge, or you pay national insurance. But once it goes over that, as an employee, you pay tax.
All right.
As a sole, sorry, go ahead.
So there's a taxable bracket that you once you meet that threshold.
Once you go for $84,000, that's when you pay taxes.
All right. Go ahead.
If you're self-employed, you'll pay every quarter. You don't pay health surcharge every month. You pay, as a sole trader, you pay health surcharge every quarter, which comes up to $107.25 every quarter. And those quarters are March, June, September, and December. You will also pay income tax. And that again is based on your income, your profits going over the 84,000. So if you have a good example, if you have profits of $100,000 and your profit is your income less your expenses, your profit is 100,000, the government allows you as a sole trader to take out the 84,000 and will only tax the 16. Just like an individual, yes.
Right. Because, there's also been the question, Sonia, about whether, and we're going to get into, the question of how much is who has to pay in terms of the quantum when you're talking about individuals as opposed to businesses or large corporations. But there's also the question of the small trader and why he or she has to be part of that or caught within that taxation bracket. What are some of the benefits for let's say paying taxes? Because as I said, when I started out the discussion, the taxman is not someone who is readily welcomed. I suppose not just in Trinidad and Tobago, but any part of the world. The small trader, the sole trader, the person who's involved in the micro enterprise. What are some of the benefits going to that particular sector or individual where taxation is concerned and the paying of taxes?
Well, for the sole trader, what has been happening recently is that because of the Procurement Act that has been enacted, you as a sole trader going to apply, anybody decide to employ you for any small gig, let's say take a DJ, they're now going to be asking you, are you registered as a business owner? And the reason they're going to be asking you because they have to now declare to the government who they're employed and if those persons are if they're they need a tax clearance, in other words. So if you're going to be applying for a gig with Massey Stores or anyone, they'll be asking for a tax clearance. And the only way you can get a tax clearance is if you have paid your taxes and have filed your taxes. So that's one of the benefits now, that if you want to be employed with or to do any small gig as a sole, because we figure that sole traders are just sole traders, but they're business owners and they need to think as a business owner. And they want to get more gigs. They want to get much more. Even if they want to tender for a government job, they have to get a VAT letter. Which if they're not VAT registered, they get a VAT letter. But if they're VAT registered, they have to pay up all their VAT, file all their clearance, all their returns, and then they'll get a clearance. Because that is what Massey or any one of those will be asking you for, a tax clearance. So that is the benefit of filing your taxes.
I remember some time ago, I haven't traveled in quite some time, Sonia, and I remember many years ago where, that provision was made whereby, before you travel, you have to submit some kind of documentation as to your tax history. Does that still apply?
No, that doesn't happen again.
It doesn't happen again?
No,
Okay.
no, you don't have to get that again. No.
Right,
but they still come back to haunt you when you want, you have to tender for a job, or somebody asks you to supply something and they're now asking you for a tax clearance.
Right, because I remember that.
Most of the,
I remember that vividly as a specific requirement that at that moment in time. But as you're saying, that no longer applies. I suppose with the new laws and the new taxation system, the state, I suppose, government would have probably gone in another direction to ensure, because what I believe they have done as well is to sort of widen that gap, that taxation net, as it were, maybe in terms of trying to capture just about everybody, because I think many years ago, even the very sole trader that we were talking about a short while ago may not have been captured within that particular that particular bracket, and along the way, we would have had persons being added, specific categories of taxation being added. And I wanted to sort of to touch a bit on the different kinds of taxes, because I think people need to understand as well when we talk about taxation and the taxation system, I mentioned before, the green fund levy, and help us through the different kinds of taxation system that we have here in Trinidad and Tobago, and how each of those would apply in what particular areas.
Okay, let's go right back to the sole trader again. He will be paying some income tax. So once his profits go over the $84,000, he will pay taxes. The first $1 million, he will pay at 30%, and over that, he pays 35% on the tax. So he will pay income tax. The companies now, they have to pay green fund taxes. The government can't wait for you to file your income tax at the end of the year. We need money throughout the year because we have roads to fix. We have the green fund we're using now to do some projects with. So we need that money up front. So what the government says to you is that every quarter from your income, pay me 0.3% of that. So that's what you call the green fund tax.
Yes.
It is on your income every quarter. You pay 0.3%. So your quarters again are March, June, September, and December. You pay the government that green fund. The government also says to you, because you probably now start a business for the first 3 years, all I'm going to take from you is the green fund. But from the 4th year of your business, you're going to be paying both green fund and the business levy taxes.
Okay.
The business levy is now 0.6% of your income. And it's worked by the same quarters of March, June, September, and December. So you have to pay the business levy.
Okay.
When you're going to be filing your corporation tax return, the government says to you, okay, you've paid up front your green fund, you've paid up front your business levy, and now you have a profit. So on that, you have to pay your corp tax. But you're able to offset your business levy against your corp tax.
Okay, I see.
Right? So that's in a nutshell the different kinds of taxes that you have to pay.
All right, because I get confused at times, Sonia. Forgive me, about these different kinds of taxation system, corporation tax, and business levy, green fund. It can be a bit confusing at times. And
if you don't know, yes.
And this is why I have you here on the Citizens Community Forum. And I want to also ask you, how would you rate the taxation system in Trinidad and Tobago? Is it one that you see? Some people may describe it as an onerous, draconian, perhaps. How do you rate our system of taxation here in Trinidad and Tobago, probably comparatively to other countries?
Well, I can't talk much about the other countries, but what I could say is that what we have been doing recently is that we made everything online for you. So you don't need to really, before 2017, I think it is, or 2016, you had to do the corporation tax return, and then you drop it in a box, or you go and you file it with them. But from 2017, they said, just do it online. You file it online, you do the same system, you file it online, and then there is a printout which you call a declaration form. When you get that form, you print it, you sign it, and then you drop in a box again. But it is not like they have to go and drop this whole tax return in a box like before. You just have to drop that declaration form in the box. But if you have a TT Connect number, you do not need to drop that declaration form in the box. It automatically goes to them because you have a TT. You now filing online with a TT Connect ID number.
Okay.
So you can file both ways. You can have a non-login system or a login system. The login system is because you have a TT Connect number, the e-tax number. While with the non-login, you did not have a TT Connect number, but you're still allowed to file, and you drop that declaration now in a box. Now, what they've also done for you, because you're filing online now, you get your refunds faster.
I see.
Once your refund is under a certain bracket, you'll get a refund back in at least 3 weeks. Once the government has money, let us put it that way, once the funds available, you'll get your return within 3 weeks. You get your refund, within 3 weeks.
All right. Well, you talked about a taxable bracket, but before we go forward, I just want to remind our listeners and our viewers that this is the Citizens Community Forum. Our topic this evening, understanding your taxes, what you need to know. And I'm talking with Ms. Sonia Scarce. She is the founder, managing director, and head consultant at Sonia Scarce and Company Limited, where she works with clients to ensure they meet their statutory financial obligations. And know now that we are in the month of April. It's all about taxes and taxation and what have you. We wanted to sort of also get an understanding, Sonia, if you can just help us through this again, another of those particular worrying areas when we talk about taxes and even the tax brackets. So do you think that this, when we talk about taxes and paying taxes, is it in your view that even in Trinidad and Tobago, we are still, we don't have that full understanding of the importance of taxation and why we pay taxes? Do you get that sense of when you talk to clients, when you have discussion, when you do your your clientele in terms of meetings or audience, what have you? Do you get the sense that we still don't understand the importance of paying taxes?
Not only we don't understand the importance, we still don't understand tax. We still don't know, because people just say, you're going to register a company. Nobody sits to tell you, even at the Board of Inland Revenue, nobody sits to tell you as a sole trader, now you have to pay health surcharge. Or as a company, this is due when. So nobody is sitting to tell you as a business owner, if you don't have an accountant working for you, nobody's there to guide you. So you're just going to register business. Nobody says to you that come April the 30th, I need to file my income tax or I need to file my corporation tax return. There is no way that we get that kind of information coming to us throughout the year. So a lot of people are going around with businesses, and we had amnesty, but still the amnesty was not enough to tell folks, hey, if you don't file this, this is what happens to you. So we're still not getting all the information we need so that people will be aware, especially the sole traders, that we're not capturing from them at least their health surcharge, because nobody says to them, at least pay your health surcharge. So we still have a lot of loopholes in which we're not getting the taxes from our taxpayers. We're not getting it.
All right. Well, I know that that the state, the government, has been very much concerned about collecting taxes in the quantum and in the numbers and the figures that they would want to, because you rightly said that we do need taxes because taxes really drive economic activity. I mean, we have to. There are infrastructural things which have to be, attended to, our roads, water, lights, public utilities, etc. Taxation would usually drive, these areas of economic activity. But I want to see if you could just share with us a little more on the social security contributions. Now, there is a social security tax referred to as the national insurance. I suppose commonly known as the NIB, and that is deducted as at source at varying rates. The maximum I'm seeing here figure TT 414.30 per week per month income TT. Help us understand a little more of the how the national insurance system works in terms of taxation.
Well, it's not a taxation. Contribution that you pay.
It's a contribution.
It's a contribution you pay. So it depends on your weekly rate or your monthly rate. You pay a contribution which your employer matches that twice. In other words, if your weekly contribution is $13, your employer has to pay $26, and he pays over to the National Insurance Board $39. So he has to contribute, and that is an expense to the employer, which he can offset against his profits. So it reduces his profits because it's an expense to him.
Right. So,
so again, in terms of, before you move on, so in order for you to get, and you probably might want to ask now, how many contributions you need to get a pension?
Sonia, you're probably just, I don't know, you probably, I don't know if you have had a peek of, at my notes, but certainly, go ahead, yes. Yes.
So in order to get a pension, you need to make 750 contributions. And that is like working for 15 years, because you work for 52 weeks in the year, but the national insurance is only 50 contributions per year. So it's like working for 15 years And once you have 750 contributions, you get a pension. Now, the other little benefit of it is in terms of you might reach at 58 or 59, because you got to get an NIS at 60. And you realize that you only have 700 contribution, but I'm no longer employed. The government allows you, or National Insurance Board is part of the government, allows you to pay 18 months of your contributions voluntarily so that you come up to the 750. They allow you that. If you still don't make it, but you get a lump sum. You don't get a monthly pension, you get a lump sum, and that is it for you. So I encourage people, as soon as you reach about 50, please start to walk into National Insurance, check your contributions, make sure they're up to date, because you don't want to reach until you're 60 and then realize that you worked with somebody 20 years ago that did not pay your contributions, and they're no longer around. So I suggest that you start to make it part of your business to go and check your contributions so you're not caught with your pants down come 60 or 65.
Okay, all right. And this is the Citizens Community Forum. I'm Stephen Cummings. I'm talking with Ms. Sonia Scarce. She's the founder and managing director and head consultant at Sonia Scarce and Company Limited, where she works with clients to ensure they meet their statutory financial obligations. She's also an accountant and an expert in the business of finances. You talked about that age, 60, is it 60 or 65? There is some discussion on now, Sonia, about raising the retirement age. I think that there has been some discussion, and there continues to be a discussion about that particular proposal. It is not law just yet, but the discussion is on. Is it that that you believe that once we maybe go the way of raising the retirement age, that we may have to do some restructuring in the entire mechanism as to how we plan and how we position ourselves to I suppose, to get the kinds of benefits, a little later on in your life? Do you think that would be something that would be towards the benefit of individuals? Because the discussion has also always been, and is always as well, in the talking about whether there is enough fund within that NIB pool. And I think that was one of the decisions or one of the reasons for wanting to have some kind of consideration for increasing the retirement age.
I think it has its benefit, because I think a lot of people don't really look at your pension before you're 60. So you haven't put anything in place. Because I'm going to get a pension at 60 or 65. You have not put a lot of stuff in place. And we as finance coaches or whatever, we try to tell you that you need to start to think at age 50 or before that, what happens to me when I retire? I want to make the same kind of money that I'm earning now. And how do I do that? What sort of things am I putting in place that I will have that I want to live the same lifestyle I'm living now. I cannot do that on $3,000 that I'm going to get from National Insurance. And we don't know what's going to happen with that, right? So we try to tell people that before, at age 40, make sure, or before that, you're putting something aside or you're investing your money. It has to be something that is bringing in some sort of income for you. When you reach that age, because we don't know down the road what's going to happen, and we see what happened was with COVID. Nobody expected that, but look what happened with us with income. We found a lot of us did not have that sort of 6 months or 8 months money to carry us when we weren't working. So I think COVID has opened our eyes. Let us start to think a little different and don't depend on that NIS money or the government pension at 65, because we don't have a clue what's going to happen to us in the next 5 years. So you now have to try to encourage people to start to think, how do I survive? What can I do at 60? I want to still live my life at 60. I'm still young, more or less. How do I survive? Right? Because you're hearing a lot of talk about national insurance would not have, because everybody now will be in that age now, that baby boomer age that's happening, because everybody's reaching that 60. And what's going to happen with us? Were they able to cut? Is it sustainable?
Yes.
That is the question,
Well, certainly, when you talk about sustainability, I think that was also the question that has been raised as to whether we can afford to carry the same system or the system that we are carrying now for any, lengthy period again. Because of course, we talk about falling, revenue and salaries are not
Yeah.
salaries are more, on the dropping,
Yes, yes.
as opposed to increasing. We've been talking, just a couple of days ago, and even today, we've been talking about the price of oil and the
Yes.
volatility in the market. While we may be enjoying some increase in the price of oil, this may not be something that will be sustained for any period
No.
of time. So your advice to persons is to begin to plan and to structure
Start to
and
think,
not.
yeah.
Yes. Mhm.
Start to think, how do I survive when I retire? What am I planning to do? Do I take up another profession? You know, what do I do at 60? That money is not enough to sustain me. Am I going to get, you haven't think of rental income because you don't know what's going to happen in terms of rental. What can I do? Or do I take up another career altogether?
Mm.
Take up something that's going to bring in income for me at 60, that I have the energy to work for another 10 years, but I'm gonna live the lifestyle that I want to live at that age. Yeah. So it's a good way to start to think, what can I do? Yeah.
Oh, very, very important point there. And this is the Citizens Community Forum. I'm Stephen Cummings. I'm talking with Miss Sonia Scarce. She is an accountant, business professional, someone who understands the business of taxation. I suppose, much better than I do. That's why we have her here on the program. Sonia, we are going to take a short break in a moment. But before we go to the break, the issue of foreign nationals who, let's say, would have businesses, in other countries, or maybe businesses here, but they don't live here. How does the tax system apply to them, or if at all? How does that system work? Are they obligated as much as locals, persons who are, when I say locals, persons who are living here, resident here for most of their lives, I suppose.
Well, it depends on the arrangement you have, because a diplomat might have a different arrangement than if you are a non-national.
And that's what I'm getting to.
Or
Yes.
yes. So if you are in Trinidad or any one of the countries and you're going to be earning income for, when we say 183 days, it's like 6 months in the year, you become resident, an ordinary resident in that country, and you should be paying the taxes. Unless you come on the diplomatic, which have their own arrangements, you might not be paying taxes. But if it's not that arrangement with government to government, you should be paying your taxes, because you become resident, an ordinary resident, and therefore you're entitled to pay the income tax or your PAY in the country. If it's a business that you have here, let's say a partnership, and even if you're not here but you're earning an income, somebody needs to be filing your income tax return for you.
Okay.
So you can appoint a lawyer, you can appoint an accountant. Somebody has to file your taxes for you. So you don't really get away out of the system, because you're earning an income.
Okay.
But you should be paying it, unless there's that arrangement, government to government, unless there's one of those arrangements. Yeah.
All right. Sonia, we're going to talk a bit more about this issue, and I want to take you up on this issue of tax evasion as well. We're going to touch a bit on that, some of the implications when we come back. But we have to take a short break now, and when we come back, we will continue the discussion.
You tell me something, Mr. Cummings. You are seeing asparagus selling in one of those high-end supermarkets. We can't see local tomatoes. So then we come in, we spin it up in mud. I'm not talking about them farmers in Bossap Marino and Old Vans, or they're only complaining about land and they want land out of... No.
You know something that bothers me? People want change and cannot get it peacefully. They resort to violence in order to get that change. Got the history of the world, and you see that is what is taking place.
The difference is that a country like the United States could simply print money, trillions of dollars of support, social support, business support. They're talking about another $2 trillion. So they could print money. We can't do that. If we do that, then we get inflation. So our deficit is problematic.
2011, which I looked at, and that actually came out of the Central Statistical Office. Do we have any updated data?
Actually, I was very impressed by your statistical knowledge, Mr. Cummings. Yes, the last census was in 2011, and there would have been population and housing estimates subsequently, and the figures remain about the same.
What are some of those other pressure points?
Persons who are coming in with problems. Nobody's coming in there to talk about how wonderful their day was. And so the things that show up a lot is a lot of co-parenting issues, figuring out how after we separated, how to still care for the child well, issues around domestic violence, issues around child abuse.
Discussions on health, leadership, governance, crime, education, and social justice. Every Wednesday, 8 to 9 p.m. The Citizens Community Forum. Your host, Stephen Cummings.
And welcome back to the Citizens Community Forum. I'm Stephen Cummings. At this time we are talking understanding your taxes, what you need to know. And I have with me on the program is Sonia Scarce. She's founder, managing director and head consultant at Sonia Scarce and Company Limited, where she works with clients to ensure they meet their statutory obligations. And of course, someone who who has wealth of knowledge in terms of business and finance. Sonia, welcome back.
Thank you so much.
Before we went to the break, we were talking about that very troubling issue of, I touched on it, we didn't go into much detail, of tax evasion. And I'm seeing some information here, Sonia, where there was a report which was posted on I think the FIU had posted some information, and it was also in the National Daily. It said that Trinidad and Tobago has seen a 79% surge in tax evasion cases over a particular period, and they are citing January 2020 that year. According to the jurisdiction's Financial Intelligence Unit, the FIU also received 134 reports of tax evasion valued at some 697 million and 286 reports of money laundering valued at TT329 million. Again, for the year, citing the year 2020. Do you get the sense, I mean, this report is obviously
alarming,
screaming. It's screaming at you.
Yes,
do you get the sense that even when you read as well, and you kind of monitor all this happening, is this something that you believe continues to be on the increase, this business of tax evasion?
You know, I haven't paid it that much. I wouldn't want to talk too much because I really don't, delve into that much. But I would not doubt it. People will find all loopholes, like more or less, that they can use to just don't pay tax. Just find a way. They just don't feel that. Why am I paying tax? What do I get from it? The government just taking my money. The simple thing as our property tax. Look how we behaving to pay our property tax.
Yes, so, and I know that's another discussion that we will probably have at another time. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I would not be surprised that people are finding ways and means of just not paying their taxes. There are legitimate ways that you cannot avoid paying taxes. But if you contribute to certain things that you can get a tax break from, that's a different story altogether. But people just don't want to pay it. People just don't want to pay, but they want stuff to happen in the country. They want good roads, they want lights, they want water, but they just feel they don't have to pay anything, just live life normal. Yeah.
Well, we don't want to to have to make reference to the politics.
Yeah, no, we're not going to go that way.
We don't want to make reference to the politics, but certainly, you said that there are people generally in the main, who would want to probably, if they have the opportunity to avoid, the taxman, they would gladly do so. But of course,
they will. Yeah,
it's a legal requirement, to pay your taxes. And I'm just, looking at some more information here, where the FIU is also saying that a specialized intelligence gathering unit within the Ministry of Finance in 2019 also reported that there was, and which was also submitted to the finance minister, of 2019. Of these, these tax evasion, by people, and the report also highlighted that tax evasion in 2019 represented, that very same figure that I mentioned, 79%, which again is very huge, very large, percentage. And the reports also said that 30% of those persons identified as the subjects reported to the tax evasion STRs and the SARs, of course, where non-nationals from Asia, Africa, and the Middle East were concerned. And I did raise the question before we went to the break about, for example, foreign nationals or even nationals who would be living in other countries, have businesses here or have businesses in other countries. How does the tax system apply to them?
But because I see a lot of for me, what I always argue about is that, first of all, a lot of people are not registering their business.
Mm-hmm.
They're not registering the business, so they just operate. So you don't capture those at all to get your taxes, because nobody comes and asks the shop next door if you're a sole trader or nobody comes to ask that question. So they're under the radar. You don't get any taxes from them. The people who have a lot of but not the big supermarkets like Massey and so on, but the Asians and so on that have supermarkets, who is monitoring them to make sure that they register and they're paying taxes? So those are the ones that you don't capture those at all. The other thing for me is, when you register your business, there is no system which says to you, that sends off a light bulb. Tom has just registered business. Is Tom going to go across to the Board of Inland Revenue and get a BII number and start to pay tax? Is the National Insurance Board going to be aware that a new company has formed and they're supposed to be paying national insurance if they have employees? The systems are not linked. And so we miss again getting the taxes or the contribution because the systems are not linked. So when you go to legal affairs and register your business, nothing clicks to BIR to say that person needs to have a BIR number. And so we're going to be behind that person. Something clicks to say, hey, a notice comes to that business owner to say it's time to pay your green fund, or you need to start to pay your business levy. Nothing, the three systems are not linked up. So we miss a lot of stuff, unless what you find National Insurance would have started to do is to come through the malls. National Insurance would go through like the malls and stop at business places to see if you have employees, if they're registered.
And if those employees are being, their contributions are being paid.
Yes. So National Insurance has started to do that. At one point, in Tobago used to come around because they're smaller to make sure that you're paying your health charge and so on in Tobago. But I don't know if the system is still working, but there's no link between BIR, legal affairs, and national insurance. There should be a link, because the only way you're going to capture that. I don't know. I don't know if we beside the Revenue Authority, if we're going to have that happening. I don't know.
Well, I think the objective of having that new revenue authority is to probably do just that you're talking about. Having a tighter system so that we can plug all the holes and avoid leakages, as it were. But again, in some quarters, there has been some strong objection as to whether that system is going to really,
we know that we're having that.
Meet the objection. And again, we go back to the politics, which is not something that we want to go into at this time. But certainly, but there has to be some kind of real policing, Sonia, of the system. Now, I'm wondering,
and if you look, the rigorous system that you have in Jamaica, the rigorous system that you have in Guyana with their taxes, it is amazing. It is amazing how they get their taxes in Jamaica and in Guyana. Because they have people who really police. They have a unit that sets up the police in Guyana who goes behind the business owner to get your taxes.
Well, we know about the system.
We are trying here. We are trying here.
Well, we know about the system.
We are trying with the VAT. We are trying with the VAT here. To get our VAT. But then people are complaining, especially people who have government contracts. You can't want me to pay VAT and you have not paid me my money. How do you expect to get your VAT from me?
Again, there's another discussion about the VAT
situation. There's
another discussion about the VAT
That's
return.
another story
as to whether the people are getting the returns in the times that they would want them to. Again, another discussion, another topic at another time. But certainly, we need to have a tighter system. And I'm wondering if, with the whole e-government and the single electronic window and the way that government is proceeding in terms of its operation, I'm wondering if, and the question of digitalization, I'm wondering if you are hopeful enough, Sonia, that we will one day have a system whereby those very same things that you mentioned, where someone goes into legal affairs and they don't have a particular provision that is required, if that red light would go on, I'm wondering if you're hopeful we would get to that point at
I'm hoping that we get it, because when you go on our e-system that you want to call, when we go to TT-Biz, which is the e-system that you use, you see there is customs, there is NIB, there is legal affairs, everybody's on that system. So I am hoping that we get to, but as I'm saying to you, when I register my business, something clicks automatically to BIR that I need to come in and get a BIR number, sole trader, or as my company, and then something clicks to national insurance which says, I have employees. Do I have employees? Or if I have employees, do I pay contributions to them? So I'm hoping that we get there at some point in time, not too far in the future. Yeah. Because we start not getting the kind of taxes that we're supposed to be paying. And the government is aware of it. And we saw it a lot when we had COVID, and we asked people now when we get the government assistance. And then you realize that a lot of sole traders, we asked them to bring in your business registration, and you realize that the barber and the hairdresser and the small business owner who is not earning now are not registered.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, and I would just want to ensure that our listeners, and this is the Citizens Community Forum. I'm Stephen Cummings, and we are talking understanding your taxes and what you need to know. I have with me Ms. Sonia Skess from the Managing Director, Founder, and Head of the consultant at Sonia Skess, and of course someone who understands taxes, business, and finance. I suppose again a little more than I do. We're just sharing with our listening audience. But certainly when we talk about that leakage or leakages in the system, the finance minister I did listen in on his. Followed very closely, and not just during the last budget presentation, but many budgets prior. There's always the question of the state coming up short in terms of its taxes. They're not collecting the kinds of revenue through taxation, and they'll have been looking at various mechanisms, apart from just this recent announcement of setting up the Revenue Authority. But when we look at that system as it is in Trinidad and Tobago, there is also the view as to whether there is that there would be that compliance, because in any system, Sonia, I suppose there will always be not just teething problems, but there will always be that challenge to collect, no matter how perfect a system might be. And that is one of the challenges I believe that that governments and administrations will continue to face. We have been described here in Trinidad and Tobago as a very creative people. We find ways, means, loopholes, and even with the digitalization, we know of things when we talk about identity theft, when we talk about even manipulating the system, and one wonders whether the intention to set up this authority will meet the specific objective. But again, you are an optimist. I believe you're hopeful that we will get it right someday.
Yeah, we will, but we will always have the challenge. We always have the challenge of somebody thinking ahead of you. So you have to be thinking ahead of them, right? You'll always have somebody who, thinking how they can evade it, but you always have to be thinking ahead and try to tighten all of the little reins on it. We can make it happen, but we have to think and look at the other systems, what they're using in Europe, what they're using in the small Caribbean countries. As I said, Jamaica has a fantastic system. Guyana's coming up, right? They have a revenue authority too in Guyana, right? And their system is working. Why we cannot get it here?
One of the issues that the finance minister also raised, Sonia, when I listened to his commentary, immediately after his budget presentation. And again, we go back to that period of 2020, just at the start, or I would say maybe in the middle of this, pandemic. We're still into the pandemic. There was the concern that a lot of businesses, especially the small, micro and medium enterprise businesses, did not have their books in order or their house in order. And so they were not able to access facilities, loan facilities at the banks and so on. And there was this view now that maybe there should be some or refocus on how small businesses operate and what they are supposed to be doing, so that they can fall in line and have the proper procedures. And so, is it that you have found in your practice as well that that a majority of persons either do not understand how to operate, quite apart from the business of understanding taxes, and so are unable to really streamline and know the proper procedure where business administration is concerned, from the micro to the medium size, I suppose. Do you get that sense that there is still need for that kind of education within that particular sector?
Yes, definitely we need that, because for instance, let's take a hairdresser. A hairdresser is operating every day, she's making money more or less, but she's not even aware that she should be writing down, at least if you don't have a big laptop and you have an Excel spreadsheet, you should be writing down every day how much I make. I take from that money, because what they do, most of them don't have a bank account. So as you make, you spend. So you make $500 today, and then I walk into Pennywise and I buy products. Right? So you're not writing down that I made 500 today, I spent 300. What did I do with the other two? It might have gone into food, it might have gone wherever. So they're not aware, a lot of people are not aware of how to keep their books, as we would like to say. To keep your records. They don't keep bills. You simply ask a hairdresser, but you have dryers, you have a sink, you have all sorts of things you buy. Where are those bills? I don't know, I throw away the bill. You know what I mean? So they're not even aware
So you have
what you need to keep.
Right. So you have a business that is asset rich, but cash poor. Is that what you are alluding to?
Well, it's not really cash poor, but you can't say to me that, Sonia, in 2020 I made $125,000, because you don't have a record.
There's no record.
You have no record. You can't say, well, today was a bad day for me. Last week was good. During COVID, all you could tell me is that during COVID, I worked. For the last 3 or 4 months, I worked. So, but you didn't have no records before that. So it's education again. I have started moving into communities, and I'm doing a lot of work in La Hoca to Talparo, in which I'm going into the different communities now and holding meetings at the community centers, inviting people to come out. Even if you don't have a business, that you want to open a business, and start to talk to them on what is required of you. So I've started to do that, but I can't do it alone. Right. So it has to be at a bigger level, in which we are educating, and I hope Netco is trying. Netco started to do some work, and TT Youth Biz, they've started to do some little training on bookkeeping and so on, but they need to do a lot more work. I want to see Netco talk on the taxes. How are we going to get these monies out to these small business owners? I don't want you to talk about sales and whatever. I want them to talk about the government is not getting their monies, and how do we get them to understand?
Right. Why the monies are not coming in the required year. Sonia, we have to leave it there at the moment, and we want to thank you for taking the time to talk with us on this business of understanding your taxes, what you need to know. But before I let you go, I just want you to give some closing remarks to citizens, Trinidad and Tobago, the region, the world, wherever they are picking us up, on the business of understanding your taxes and what you need to know. What would you like to leave with our listeners at this time?
I just want to let them know that at the 30th of April of this year here, you need to file, by the 30th of April, you need to file your income tax and your corporation tax return. That's if you owe the government any taxes. because from the 1st of May, you start to incur penalty and interest for not paying your taxes by the 30th of April. If you don't owe any taxes, you still need to file that income tax and that corporation tax return, but you have until October of 2022.
Okay.
Right?
So there's a grace period as well.
Because there's a 6 months from April. So if you don't owe any taxes, you still have until October of this year to file your taxes for 2021. And I just want to remind the sole traders that you need to pay that health surcharge. I tell them to go and pay for the whole year, $429, so you don't have to worry.
Which isn't very much, yes.
No.
Very much, yes.
But I know sometimes for cash flow purposes, you can pay the quarterly one of $107.25.
All right, which is manageable. All right.
And the one last thing I want to remind business owners too, that your annual return, you need to file that annual return with legal. There's a whole other discussion, but you need to file your annual return every year. Those for 2021 is due this year. So you need to file that annual return. Please look at your anniversary date and file your annual return. We have an amnesty that goes until I think the 5th of May. So please get your annual returns up to date. That is done by legal affairs.
All right. So we need to make friends with the taxman as much as we possibly can, and not see him as that unwelcome stranger.
Yes.
All right. Ms. Sonia Scarce, thank you so much for taking the time again to sit with us inside the Citizens Community Forum as we discuss this very important matter of understanding your taxes, what you need to know. And of course, I see that we will have to continue the discussion at some other time. This business of tax or the taxman is not going to go away.
He's not going away. He's not going away.
So we are going to have to return to the discussion at some other time. Thank you so much again for talking with us.
Thank you for having me.
I'm Stephen Cummings, and this is the Citizens Community Forum, and we were talking in just a moment ago with Ms. Sonia Scarce, Managing Director and Head Consultant at Sonia Scarce and Company Limited, where she works with clients to ensure they meet their statutory financial obligations. Someone who is also versed in the area of business administration. And of course, she did mention that she is also doing some community work, community outreach work as well, helping persons and communities to understand the business of not just taxation, but how to proper streamline their operations. So that's it at this time. I'm Stephen Cummings. This is the Citizens Community Forum. See you next Wednesday.
It was a famous poet who once said, "They came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me." Words there from famous poet Martin Niemöller, 1892 to 1984.